if your God is the ultimate God, so to speak, then in principle, it would be the non-personable energy that is before any quote-unquote spiritual personality, end quote, that formates itself on its own field and timeline and energy and whatnot. And with that being said, you could say this is a pretty hefty statement. And that hefty statement is, if your God is the ultimate God, then it is underneath the spiritual personalities, and it is something of a source of it. And whatever personalities that are existent, that is simultaneously relevant and irrelevant, it's in the source. So you could say that SADASIVA and MAHAVISNA, they're one in the same. They're one in the same in a particular context of energy, that if whatever the ultimate God is, one would be the source of it, but on different timelines, they are both their own source, you know? And them being their own paradoxical source, they came onto this Earth timeline and the material timeline of Earth, this unique material timeline, and they made what things are what they are within this timeline, because God is the life of life. God is the death of death. And within saying all of that, I'm just kind of breaking down, like, I'm just trying to settle the arguments, because we're looking at it in a linear way. We're not seeing the different paradoxes of how, if your God is the ultimate God, then it's the energy that is before the personalities, and it's harnessing all the personalities. So regardless of who is the ultimate God, that's not the way to look at it. It's to see how they're intertwined and how they have their own divisions, and how did they get to have their own divisions. Because whatever is the ultimate source, God or whatever, you would have to ask, how is it the source of that source? And if it is the source of that source, there's an interconnection. So within the interconnection, the ultimate God, the ultimate Father, whatever that is, it had some type of simultaneous care and not care for its offspring. Because if your God is the ultimate God, it has to be the energy behind the personalities. And if it is the energy behind the personalities, there's some type of unique interconnection, how there's similarities and differences based on their own spiritual division. So the way I look at it, I don't really do the argument of who's the more superior God. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as a paradox. SADASIVA and MAHAVISNA and any other prevalent God, respectively, before the offsprings, they're their own paradox source within something of a nothingness. And they had a certain awakening, a realization from the nothingness, and they self-conceived themselves into the plane of somethingness. And within the plane of something, and this is like 8 years plus work, mind you. So for me just to chime in on this shit, I'm doing it for a different type of professional, mature neutralness and balance. Because like all this, like, you know, all this like jagged type of like, chisme is just really fucking irrelevant to me. But I'm just trying to see, like, if SADASIVA is the ultimate source, or if MAHAVISNA is the ultimate source, then one of them had to then we would have to follow up on them on how is it that they are the ultimate source. They're their own unique ultimate sources and their own paradox. And if they are the source of the latter, then there's a unique interconnection. So if there's a unique connection, that means source is everything. So if source isn't everything, it's not necessarily the source, you get me? And this is like, the underground is way different. So if people judge this like mini shit, so be it. You know, I don't really care. But if your source is the ultimate source, then it would still be whatever anything is, regardless of the title, because it's the source of it. So I'm looking at Sadashiva and Mahavishnu as a paradox. It's a paradox. They're the source of each other, and then they're the division of each other, and then they have their own individuality of each other, and now they're going back to each other's sources. You know, Om Namo Rama Krishnaya and Om Namo Shivaya. And Om Dum Durugaye Namaha, Swayambhu Brahma Namaha Om, etc., 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 and respect to all the other ones. Thank you.